new beginning. If you remember last Monday, I was wearing a terrible shirt. I shouldn't dress myself on Mondays. I grabbed a denim shirt and put on jeans. I rocked a Canadian tuxedo and didn't even realize it. I'd apologize, but I just don't care. I pull it off, I think. Anyway, to the task at hand. So I thought, if you remember, last week, we spoke a lot about trees and planting trees and trees in the fall and everything like that. And the common theme I touched on again and again was to not fertilize. So if you remember, we didn't really discuss fertilizer. A fertilizer, a lot of people seem to think, you know, a fertilizer is plant food. And we've touched on this, it isn't. The plant food is actually sunlight. Sunlight is what creates your plant food. The additives we put in the soil, again, the peat moss, coir, biochar, worm castings, that good stuff, are additives. They're filled with minerals and all of that good stuff, like solid vitamins. And then your fertilizers are like your daily dose of fruit and vegetables, if you will. They just really complement it and boost the health. And the three main parts of your fertilizer are your NPK, always in the same order, NPK, okay? And it's very simple. It's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. And those are the three main ingredients in every fertilizer. There will also be macronutrients. They should always be listed. I can't find it on here. Yeah, this one has potash listed. A lot of them I'll have maybe calcium, magnesium, that kind of stuff. But these are your three primary numbers. That's kind of what's going to make it or break it. So, when you're talking about your trees and your perennials, and remember trees are a type of perennial, you don't want to fertilize. You don't want to run the risk of promoting new growth at this time of year. We've already had a frost here in Calgary. I'm sure my Calgary viewers are aware of that. And that frost already hit, and it nipped back some plants. Certainly did in my yard. And everything kind of was like, oh. Now, it warmed up a bit, but we know there's going to be another, and then we're going to get hit by a hard frost. And those tender new growth that you get from fertilizing and promoting active growth, we don't want those nipped. So you dial it back. But the reason I'm talking about fertilizer specifically, there's two things that you do want to fertilize in the fall. And those are your tomatoes and your annuals, your veggies, any of your annual veggies. Don't do your raspberries, your blueberries, kiwis, ones like that, rhubarbs, you don't want to do those. But your annual veggies, any herbs you've got left that you're not planning on overwintering, tomatoes, cucumbers, pumpkins, ones like that. They are, you know, what I like to call one and done. They're an annual. You've got 1 year out of them, and they're finished. So push them to the max. Keep that fertilizer going. Don't dial it back. You certainly don't want to have done all the work through the season. You don't want to have planted them, fertilized them, amended them, kept the aphids off them, done all of that work just to fall now at the final hurdle. You want your hanging baskets or your planters or even the annuals in your flower beds to still kind of push through and still put out some new flowers. Again, feed them. You're not going to hurt them. Either way they're done. You have a new Guinean patient in the ground or in the pot. The moment it's hit by a frost, it's done. It's game over. So if you can push it and keep it healthy, if you can resist that mild frost, those lower temperatures, and it will put out more blooms to get you through the fall. So that is when I really push my fertilizer. The other one is your lawn. You know what's funny? I keep forgetting I've got a mic, so every time I turn around, I stop talking. Because when we were doing it in the spring, you couldn't hear me. And that's why there's like, I'm not just doing it for a dramatic pause. I forget that I'm mic'd. It's like I can walk anywhere. Anyway, this isn't the story of the microphone. This is the story of fertilizer. So this is a lawn fertilizer. And this is really important to put down for overall grass health. Again, NPK. Okay, so you've got your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potassium. And they have changed the blend on lawn fertilizers a couple of times over the past decade. And what they used to have on lawn fertilizers, and this is about, let's call it 12 years ago. 12 years ago, and it used to basically be, we got to invest in some new markets, Randy.
Yep.
It used to be 0, 10, 10. The idea being you didn't want nitrogen in there because you didn't want the above ground growth, because the above ground growth again, putting on new shoots, gets nipped by the frost, it's not going to do it any good. Now what they ended up doing, I'm going to change my colors here, so it doesn't all bleed in. Then they went more to a 12, 8, 16. And they realized that actually grass is really hardy. So a little bit of nitrogen in there, what it ended up doing was, especially now, especially September, this is the best month to get that fertilizer down on the ground. And what they realized was that nitrogen, it gave a little bit of a boost in growth, helped green the grass up. The grass would green up, we know what that means, that's photosynthesis. So voila, the sun is now hitting it, that energy is getting pulled down into the roots, okay? The roots are helping establish, and the 16, as we know, is overall health, keeps everything operating the way it should. So this was an important number. So that was the new discovery, and they said, hey, this is working, because again, when you bring it down in September, a lot of times, this year especially, I know for the month of August, end of July, especially the month of August, I had a sprinkler going in my yard. My grass was barely growing. I think we only cut it 2 times. I should ask Harry, considering he cut the grass. Loser, loser. But I think we only cut it twice. And all the water did, all the sprinkler did is kept it green, a little bit of growth. But that grass being baked solid, fully exposed to the sun, went into basically a period of dormancy. It's just too hot for it to grow. I feel you, grass. When it's that hot, I go into a period of dormancy, right? I just, sit on the deck, do nothing, kind of just enjoy the sun. So the idea here was to put this down in September when that heat has broken, it's cooling down in the evenings, and this would give you a good balance, some good root development, overall health, some above ground nitrogen growth. Now, they redid it again, and the newer formulas, as you can see on the bag I literally just picked up, well, let's do this one here, is 10, 0, 32. So you can see the transition. And what they found was the nitrogen that was going in there wasn't all being used just in that above ground growth. And the part that was being used in the above ground growth, it was boosting the roots enough. They didn't need to add this. This was actually causing growth, and it was causing some problems. Not a lot. Again, grass is a relatively hardy plant. That's why we use it in playgrounds. We have it in our yards, sports fields. It's tough. It can take it, but you really, like anything, you cut your grass, you water your grass, you fertilize your grass. You want it to have the best possible chance. And what they realized is that this wasn't working. So they actually, as you can see, everything here was rooting, and they dropped it completely. So now there's nothing going into the roots. And this nitrogen actually gets stored for the spring, and it goes into that little bit of root development you need. So the grass has been dormant through August. It's not really growing, it's just kind of staying green if you're watering it. If you don't water it, it just goes yellow, which is fine. Again, it's dormant, it's not dead. So then what happens is that this nitrogen greens it up, allows some root development, it takes in some extra energy, those roots are now re-established and it's ready to go into the winter, and your 32, your potassium, is helping everything move. It's allowing the conduit between the roots and the blades, and it's allowing that gas exchange, and it's keeping the plant healthy. So they significantly put up the potassium, dropped the phosphorus completely, and lowered the nitrogen to a better number, an average number. That's about an average dose. So what happens now is you feed your grass this in September, and it. Are you coming through?
Well, filming.
She is filming.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is what happens when we're live on location. Don't worry about it. You could have walked right through our shop. I would have asked, don't apologize, it's all good. Some people. No, I'm kidding. She's laughing at us. But yeah, so what happens is your grass has broken out of the dormancy. It takes all this, but it's not those crazy numbers. I think I've got a good summer one here. I've only got my organic, but here's a good one. This is a great summer fertilizer. Look at that nitrogen count. Okay, that's doing everything. That is literally doing everything. So it's not like that. And most of the grasses that you see, your spring and your summer grasses, are going to be really high nitrogen, 32s, 20s, 46s. These numbers are going to be a lot lower because that's going to do all of the work for them. It's going to keep it healthy. So it's really, really important for a healthy lawn to put that fertilizer down. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They think fertilizer equals growth. And that's what we're always told. Put it down in the summer. Put it down in the spring. Don't fertilize your trees in the fall. Growth, growth, growth. But then we take lawn, which is a totally different beast, and we tell you fertilize, fertilize, fertilize. So again, it is confusing. It can be tricky to get your head around. But that is fertilizer in a nutshell. So to wrap it up really quick, don't fertilize trees and perennials, do fertilize annuals and lawns. And that's it. The rest can be figured out later, what fertilizer you want, do you have a preference, is it better to apply it, etc., etc. You know, again, do you want to use a granular, do you want to use a spray, all of that kind of stuff. That can be figured out after, but if you keep that basic rule in mind, you'll be fine. So that wraps us up for fertilizer. Tomorrow we're going to talk about a really fun subject, raking. And the amount of people I see who rake incorrectly, don't know how to rake. People have told them, oh no, don't rake your leaves. So they're like, oh, well, I'm not raking up any of my leaves. And again, it's one of those issues where there's so much misinformation and disinformation, and people take a little bit and they don't really know. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore all the things about raking and leaves on your ground and what you should do with them. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So I hope this cleared up fertilizer. I know it can be a tricky subject for everybody. Hope you all have a wonderful day. If you're back at school, I hope it's going great. I hope you're enjoying these videos. As always, huge hello to our teachers and students who watch this, and to everybody else. We love you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be standing here. See you tomorrow, everyone.